Please rise while the colors are posted. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for our opening prayer. Skip Diamond will lead us in prayer.
Almighty God, you are the source of our life, strength, and purpose. In your presence alone, we find hope, help, and life. Guide us during this hour of fellowship and reflection. Be grounded with a healing reminder of your love to all those lives we have touched this day. For it's in your glory we gather and offer our prayers. Amen. Cover.
Please be seated. Good morning. I'm Peter K. Goebel, the Director of the Rensselaer County Veterans Service Agency. We have gathered here this morning to honor a deceased veteran for the month of December, and that Rensselaer County veteran is Edward L. Pratt. We are honored to have with us this morning his family members, his son, Vietnam veteran Edward Pratt, his daughter, Rosemary Crawford, his brother, Korean War era veteran William Pratt, his grandson, Nicholas Costa, his grandson, who served 20 years in the Coast Guard, Lieutenant Edward Costa, granddaughter-in-law, Brandy Costa, great-granddaughter, Nikki Faye Costa, great-granddaughter, Brenna Clara Costa, and great-grandson, Gavin E. Costa. Thank you for being here. Also with us today to honor our Veteran of the Month are representing Congressman Paul Tonko, Colleen Williams, Congressman John Faso, former Congressman Michael McNulty, New York State Assemblyman Steve McLaughlin, New York State Assemblyman John McDonald III, our Rensselaer County Executive Kathy Jimeno, Rensselaer County Legislative Chairman Stan Brownell, Rensselaer County Legislative Deputy Minority Leader Ed Manny, Chairman of the Legislative Veterans Committee Tom Walsh, County Legislator Gary Pavlik, County Legislators-elect Tom Grant and Jake Ashby. As we are all well aware, Memorial Day and Veterans Day are special days to remember all of our veterans. This program was created to help us honor our veterans all year round. To us here in Rensselaer County, every day is Veterans Day. The Rensselaer County Honor a Deceased Veteran Program represents veterans organizations throughout the entire county. This includes members of the American Legion, Disabled American Veterans, Veterans of Lansingburg, Military Order of the Purple Heart, Marine Corps League, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Korean War Veterans, Tri-County Council of Vietnam-era Veterans, Heroes at Home, Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association, and Vietnam Veterans of America. I will now ask Stan Brownell, Rensselaer County Legislative Chairman, to come forward to tell us about our honored veteran for the month of December, Edward L. Pratt.
Good morning. Welcome to the chambers of the Rensselaer County Legislature. My name is Stan Brownell, and it is my honor to serve as chairman. And today, as we honor our deceased veteran ceremony. Today we are gathered to honor Edward Leonard Pratt. Edward was born in Chicago, Illinois in October to the late Edward L. Pratt and Mary Catherine Gallagher. Edward was the brother of William Pratt and was predeceased by his sister, Catherine Donnelly. Edward moved to the city of Rensselaer after his father's death in 1937. He was a graduate of St. John's Academy in Rensselaer, class of 1941. After the service, Edward attended Siena College, graduating in 1956. Edward enlisted in the United States Army on August 26, 1943, in Albany, New York. While serving the European theater as a technician 5th grade, medical department, medical detachment in the 254th Infantry, Edward, as a medical aid man, accompanied Company E in the attack of Siegfried Line in the vicinity of Enheim, Germany. When his company was forced to withdraw, Edward elected to remain in a captured pillbox aid station with 18 wounded men, 12 of whom were seriously wounded, to care for their medical needs until the following morning when he made his way through enemy lines to summon assistance for them. For his actions, Edward was awarded the Silver Star Medal. The Silver Star is the 3rd highest military combat decoration that can be awarded to a member of the United States Armed Forces. It is awarded for gallantry in action. His Silver Star citation reads in part, "The magnificent courage and outstanding gallantry under fire of technician 5th grade Pratt reflected the highest credit upon himself and are keeping with the fine traditions of the armed forces of the United States." Another citation provides more information. All night, Pratt worked on his casualties, keeping them alive. He had no riflemen or any type of security to hold off enemy forces if they chose to move in on his position. At daybreak, after 11 hours had elapsed and no enemy forces had entered his pillbox, Pratt decided to go back on his own and bring help and a means of evacuation to his wounded. He, still without a means of protection, infiltrated back through enemy lines and successfully reached our troops. In addition to the Silver Star, Edward was awarded the American Service Medal, the Bronze Star Medal, the European African Middle Eastern Service Medal, the Good Conduct Medal, Presidential Unit Citation, and the World War II Victory Medal. Edward was honorably discharged on December 22, 1945. While serving in the Army, Edward married Lillian Elizabeth Spath on March 6, 1943 at St. John's Church in Rensselaer. He and his wife and 2 children, Edward Pratt and Rosemary Crawford. He is survived by them and by 4 grandchildren, Frank Costa, Nick Costa, Doreen Stewart, and E6 Edward Costa, United States Coast Guard. He is also survived by a brother and sister-in-law, Jack and Mary Spath. Prior to joining the Army, Edward began his career in chemistry with Sterling Drug, where he worked in the lab at Sterling Winthrop in the early 1940s. After the war, Edward returned to Sterling Drug and moved to the Analytical Chemistry Department at the Sterling Winthrop Research Institute in 1965. In 1986, he retired as the Director of Analytical Chemistry. Edward was a lifelong active parishioner in his church, where he was a Eucharistic minister, lector, and trustee. He was on the board of U.S. Pharmacopoeia for 12 years, an emeritus member of Sigma 11. Edward was also active with the Knights of Columbus, Council 267. Edward enjoyed golfing, reading, and research. He was also very active in his children's activities. We here in Rensselaer County have vowed to never forget our living or deceased veterans, and it is our honor this morning to remember the life of Edward Leonard Pratt.
I will now ask Colleen Williams, representing Congressman Paul Tonko, to come forward.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Peter. On behalf of Congressman Tonko, I express thanks to Rensselaer County, especially Executive Gemino, who I understand today is your last ceremony with us. You will certainly be missed, and I hope that you take plenty of time with your family to enjoy retirement and all that comes next. Chairman Brunel, Peter, and the entire Veterans Service Agency for their work to host this morning's special ceremony. The Veterans Committee for their work in selecting today's honoree. Congressman McNulty for his continued commitment to the ceremony, which he initiated 25 years ago, and to all the veterans assembled for your selfless service to our community. Congressman Tonko unfortunately could not be here today, but he asked that I present a letter and a flag flown over the United States Capitol to the Pratt family. To the family of Tech Corporal Pratt, I regret not being able to participate in today's ceremony honoring your relative, as I must attend to legislative business in Washington, D.C. I am deeply grateful that you would welcome me to this special occasion, and I'm equally thankful that your reception extends to my representative. Indeed, it is a great privilege, on behalf of the people of New York's 20th Congressional District, to recognize the service of United States Army Tech Corporal Edward Leonard Pratt. This ritual reminds us of the sacrifice of all veterans, and to those of Tech Corporal Pratt in particular. These fellow citizens would be deprived of the comforts of home to confront danger on behalf of the American family. We are eternally grateful for their service in defense of our way of life. Our gratitude for Tech Corporal Pratt's sacrifice extends to you, his loved ones. His devotion to the values of respect, selflessness, integrity, and courage defined his work in the Army. He maintained this devotion, with your support, I'm sure, to become a productive and responsible member of this community. In the name of Tech Corporal Pratt, I arranged for an American flag to be flown over the Capitol building in Washington. The flag symbolizes, in part, the vigilance, perseverance, and valor required to establish and sustain our democratic republic, a place where justice and opportunity may be pursued in peace. My sincere hope is that you will forever cherish this tribute, just as we resolve today to cherish the memory of Tech Corporal Pratt. Sincerely, Paul D. Tonko, Member of Congress. And if Congressman Faso would like to present the flag with me, that would be appreciated.
On behalf of Congressman Tonko and myself and the people of New York State and Rensselaer County, it is our privilege and honor to present to you a flag flown over the Capitol of the United States in memory of Tech Corporal Pratt, so that we can always cherish and honor his memory and his service to us. Thank you very much.
I will now ask Congressman Faso to come forward.
Peter, thank you. And I think Congressman Tonko's letter really summed it up. Ed Pratt was someone who went into the service at 19 years of age. He performed heroic deeds. He was in many respects, I'm sure, an ordinary man, an ordinary young man who performed extraordinary accomplishments. How he rescued and saved those men who were wounded. We don't know the histories of all of those people and what happened with them, but think of the lives that were preserved and saved and their families in the future because Ed Pratt was there to protect them that night. His heroism was honored and recognized by the military with the decorations he received, and he'll always be in our cherished memory. I know your family will always look upon his memory and service to our country as something that you feel a great sense of accomplishment and pride in. And indeed, all of us feel a sense of accomplishment and pride for our veterans and those who have served. So we honor his memory. May God bless him. May God bless his memory. And may God bless America. Thank you so much.
I will now ask our Rensselaer County Executive Kathy Jimeno to come forward.
Good morning. It's so wonderful to see such a large family here this morning. Thank you for being with us. Before I begin addressing my remarks to the family, I'd like to certainly reiterate what has already been said. Thank you, Congressman McNulty, for starting this ceremony here. And I think, Tom, were you here when this program was started as well? Okay. To anybody who was here, I don't know that there's anybody left on the legislature who was here, but it is really through this ceremony that we learn so much about our veterans and grow in our respect and admiration for what our veterans have done. And I want to thank the current members of the committee, including Tim Forbes, our outstanding chairperson of the committee. Thank you, Tim. And Ray as vice chair, and to all the members of the committee, thank you for the excellent work that you do every month to make certain that we have a veteran before us and all of the information that we need to honor that veteran in the appropriate manner. To Chairman Brownell, thank you for continuing this ceremony. It is really an amazing ceremony and a wonderful opportunity to hear about our veterans. To Lonnie and to Peter, thank you for all the work that goes into it. We appreciate it. Now to the Pratt family, I want to first start by thanking Ed because I know you've put an awful lot of work into gathering information about your dad's service, and I don't think we would have all the information we did without all of your efforts. And we need to hear all of that information about your dad. So often we run across people in our communities and we don't realize that they are veterans, or if we do realize they're veterans, we don't realize the extent of their service. One of the things Tom Walsh always talks about is that he hopes that all of our veterans, when we are saluting the flag, would salute as opposed to hand on the heart, because it identifies our veterans, so we have the opportunity to thank them. But your dad's service was absolutely extraordinary, as we've heard this morning, to stay behind and protect the wounded without any ability to fight off the enemy should they detect where they were in the pillbox. To stay up all night, to then go the next morning through the enemy line to reach members of our armed forces and bring them back to rescue these guys in the pillbox was just absolutely amazing. And then, as so often happens with our World War II veterans, they come home and they get right back into the work of raising a family and providing for a family. Your dad had an amazing career at Sterling, grew up through that, and retired at one of the highest positions in the organization, devoted himself to his church, devoted himself to his community. And I say, and Jean teases me about this all the time, if I had gone through what your father had gone through in the war, I think I would be tempted to just come home and put my feet up and say, okay, now, I'm going to take it easy and you all can take care of me. But that's not what he did at all. He kept giving and giving and giving. And his service was so inspirational that he had so many members of the family follow. It's really an incredible story of devotion to country, devotion to community, devotion to family, and I hope that his young grandchildren who did not know him will take away from this, what a hero and what an outstanding individual their great-grandfather was, because we don't see many people walk this earth and do all of the things that your dad, father or grandfather, brother, and great-grandfather did. So on behalf of all the residents of Rensselaer County, I'd like to present a proclamation in honor of your dad and to thank you, his family, for his service and for all of his contributions. Thank you.
will now ask Rensselaer County Legislative Veterans Chairman Tom Walsh Sr. and the assembled county legislators and county legislators-elect to come forward.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I always say this every month. I'm very proud to come in here and do this ceremony. And I've been doing it for a few years now. And today is my last time as a legislator doing it. But I am going to stay on the Veterans Committee with Peter. And this week we're going to vote on a resolution making me the head of our Hall of Heroes out there. Oh, darn phone. That's my granddaughter. She's reminding me to take my medicine. You know, you think of the medics as somebody there to help somebody that gets injured, and usually it's one at a time. But to have a medic save that many people, it's really great. You just don't hear of it all the time. And I do want to mention we have out here our Hall of Heroes, and we honor 14 Medal of Honor winners. And guess what? We have one medic out there that we are honoring out there as a Medal of Honor winner. And to have Edward win the Silver Cross is really something. That medic out there, I'll just tell you a quick story about him. He wasn't really recognized for the Medal of Honor until over the year 2002. And he was recognized because he was a dentist. He was working in the aid station, and the Japanese did a banzai attack. It was over on Iwo Jima, or Saipan, I'm sorry. I got to get my islands right here. And anyway, he killed a couple of Japanese that came into the aid station and saved some of his patients that were there. And then he looked outside, and there was a machine gun nest, and there was 2 Americans at that machine gun nest, and they were dead. So he went over and manned it. And when they found him, he had 23 wounds in his body, and there was over 100 Japanese soldiers laying around it. So these medics, you got to watch out for them. We have out here like I said, it's our Hall of Heroes, and we have, as you come in on the left-hand side, are all the plaques. And Edward is going to be one of, I think it's only 2 or 3 Silver Star winners. And we'll probably present that sometime after the first of the year for this year. And there was anywhere from 10 to 12 veterans that will be recognized on that plaque. And so Edward will be on that, and he'll probably receive an invitation to come over and while they do the presentation. I have here a proclamation honoring Edward and from the legislature, and it's signed by our chairman, Sam Brown, and I'd like to present that to you now with our legislators.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will now ask New York State Assemblyman Stephen McLaughlin and John McDonald III to come forward.
Well, thank you, Peter. It's good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to be here. it's interesting to hear that ringtone go off, because that's the same ringtone that Ed Pratt would have had back in the 40s. That was a throwback ringtone right there. You know, it's interesting. John and I share these duties, and we kind of trade off speaking every month. So it's interesting now that I'm switching positions, I don't have to go last anymore, because when you go last, pretty much everybody's encapsulated everything you could possibly say, and they all did such a wonderful job. But, you know, you look at the life of Ed Pratt when he joins at 19, he's active at 20, and shortly thereafter, he's right into it, and there's a lot of stuff going on, an amazing amount of action for a really young guy, and that's the story that we hear over and over again. They're always similar, and they're always a little bit different in the heroism that they portrayed, and this is no different. Just an amazing story to hear. Very brave to sit there all night protecting his men, and you know, you look at the legacy that he left, and look at the family and the service that the family continues to this day. So it's something to be very, very proud of. And he left quite a legacy and an incredible family. So on behalf of John and I and the people of New York State, from the New York State Assembly, we have a certificate for you as well to honor the life and memory of Ed Pratt. Thank you.
Tim Forbes from the Rensselaer County Honor Deceased Veteran Committee will present the committee plaque at this time. Will the committee members please stand? Will the committee members remain standing? At this time, the committee members will present a special plaque to County Executive Jim Minot for her support of this program.
And I'd like to say Kathy's been a county executive 16 years, and she's supported veterans and our committee every one of those years. We can only hope her replacement coming up will be just as good. The plaque says, presented to Kathy M. Jimino on this 11th day of December for her unwavering support of veterans in Rensselaer County and the Honor of Deceased Veteran Committee, and the ceremony we do.
Please stand for the closing prayer.
The day is done. Blow the sun from the lake, the hill, and the sky above. All is well. God of compassion, take him from your strength. Watch over this veteran and his family. Bless him and grant his family comfort and everlasting peace. Amen.
We'll now have taps. Retire the colors.
Retrieve color. Wait. Forward, mark.
This concludes our Honor Vet ceremony for this month. Thank you for coming to honor our deceased veteran for the month of December, Edward L. Pratt. Please join us for our next Honor Veteran ceremony scheduled for January 8th. Before we go our separate ways, we will take a few family photos. The flag will be raised at a different time and will be presented later. Thank you all again.